The next morning, the Count had just got out of bed when he heard a voice shouting,
"Look below!"
The Count looked down, and he was amazed to see the Master Thief sitting on his favourite horse. "Incredible," muttered the Count as the Master Thief rode away again. That night, the Master Thief rode back to the Count's castle. On his back was strapped a scarecrow that he found in the fields. The Master Thief tiptoed through the garden and leant a ladder against the window of the Count's bedroom. He climbed up the ladder and held the scarecrow against the window. When the Count saw the head at the window, he fired his pistol. And when the Count saw the face disappear, he thought he'd killed the Master Thief. From a safe distance, the Master Thief watched the Count step down the ladder and carry the scarecrow into the garden. It was pitch black outside, so the Count didn't realize he was carrying a scarecrow. My, considering he's a Master Thief, he's very light," said the Count. "I don't know where he got all his strength from." But the Count shrugged his shoulders and thought no more of this as he began to dig a hole to bury him in. "Now is the time," the thief muttered to himself. He knew the Count was a safe distance away, so he sneaked away from his hiding place and climbed the ladder into the Countess's bedroom. "Dearest wife," he said in the Count's voice, "the Master Thief is dead at last, but I don't want the rest of the town to know about his past, for his parents' sake. I will bury him in the garden, so nobody is any the wiser. Give me the sheet so that I can cover the body and give him a decent burial." So the Countess gave him the sheet. Once again, the Master Thief had fooled the Count. The Count couldn't believe his eyes when the Master Thief appeared the next morning clutching the sheet. "This is the work of a magician," said the Count. "How did you get out of the grave and come back to life again?" "It wasn't me you buried," the thief replied. "It was a scarecrow from the fields." And then the thief described how he had tricked the Count and his wife. "You may think you're clever, but you haven't completed the third task yet," said the Count. That night, the Master Thief came to a village church with a bundle and a sack on his back. In the sack, he had lobsters, and in the bundle, several wax candles. He sat down in the churchyard, took one lobster out, and stuck a little candle on its back. Then he lit the candle, put the lobster on the ground, and let it crawl along. After this, he fetched out another lobster, and kept on doing this until the last one was out of the sack. Then he put on a monk's outfit and stuck a bushy grey beard on his chin. When his disguise was complete, he took the empty sack into the church and stood at the pulpit. As the church clock struck 12, the Master Thief shouted out, "Come, come, everybody! The end of the world is near! Whoever wants to go to heaven with me must crawl into this sack." Everyone in the town came rushing to the church straight away. The parson and the sexton lived nearest the church, and they were the first to hear this declaration. When they saw the strange lights moving about in the graveyard, they were terrified. Oh, the lights, oh. The parson and the sexton were the first to step into the sack. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh. Then the Master Thief tied the sack up and took it down the pulpit steps. Whenever the two heads of the fools inside the sack knocked together, the Master Thief called out, Now we are going over the mountains. He continued to drag them through the town, and when they went through puddles, he said, Now we are flying through the damp clouds. Eventually, he reached a set of wooden steps leading to the pigeon hut. Now we are on the steps of heaven, he cried out. When they got to the top of the steps, he stood the sack outside the pigeon hut, and as the birds fluttered their wings, he cried out, Can you hear the angels flapping their wings?
I'll be in heaven.
Then he left the two fools struggling to get out of the sack. The next morning, the master thief went to the Count and told him he'd accomplished the third task and kidnapped the parson and the sexton from the church.
Well, if you've caught them, where are they then?
Said the Count. They are in a sack in the pigeon house, but they think they're in heaven, the master thief told him. The Count was convinced he was telling the truth, so he went straight to the pigeon hut in his garden and let the parson and sexton out of the sack. When the Count had freed the two men, he went straight back to his castle, where the master thief was still waiting for him.
You are wasting your talents,
the Count told him.
You should use your abilities in a more honest way. In fact, if you have mended your ways in a year's time, I will make you governor of this town.
And on hearing this, the master thief promised he would never steal anything again, because he quite liked the idea of being a governor.